Before I get started with this video, I want to go ahead and give you guys a bit of information on what's going to happen. This is an advanced tutorial. This is a little bit of an advanced tutorial because I expect you guys to know how to put edges down here wherever you want them to be. But in case you guys don't know, if we have our edge right here and we want this to go down here without breaking anything else, you would do an L prime U L, and that would move it there. Similarly, if you want to put this here and put this down here, you would use an R, U prime, R prime, and that would move it down there. Knowing this information, this tutorial is going to cover how to solve for the last 4 edges on any big cube or any cube in general, that's as long as it's cubic. Same concepts can apply to stuff like Megaminxes, Gigaminxes, and all that stuff, but this is usually just meant for big cubes or just in general with edge pairing. There's a lot of parity involved in this tutorial, and there is an algorithm that I'm going to be doing a lot, and I'm going to put it on the screen right now, but it will always be on screen whenever I do the algorithm. Just want to keep in mind that if you guys don't know, please learn how to solve a 4x4 and a 5x5 at least, so you can get kind of an idea of what I'm talking about, so you kind of know from first experience what I'm talking about when I'm saying these things. But if this is your first time, then that was your kind of insight as to why I'm doing this really fast without telling you what I'm doing. I'm just moving the edge where I want it to go, either on the left or the right. So yeah, let's continue. Let's go on to the video. The first thing I want to cover in this video is I want to cover the theory or the logistics. So I'm going to go to my pen and paper, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I would solve all the edges on 4x4 through 7x7. So let's go look at that. When we're trying to put the last 4 edges on a 4x4, you essentially just want to break it down so that we have basically if this was the 2 pieces that we wanted to do, let's say these were the 2 pieces that we wanted to flip, we would go ahead and flip it that way, and this one would be solved. You would actually take out another edge that's unsolved and replace it, and then put it back to solve for this edge. If you're in a situation where it's just these 2 left, then you want to perform a parity algorithm, which can be shown in my 4x4 tutorial, but I will also do it right here when I get to the 4x4 example itself. For 5x5, we have, let's say we have a piece right here and a piece right here. This one's like this. So let's say we're in a situation like this where we want to flip this edge over there. On the last layer, basically, you would just do the same thing. You would slide it over there, replace it with another edge, and then you would be fine. But if not, then what you would do is that you would go ahead and perform the parity algorithm to go ahead and swap those pieces together. Okay? But you would use the parity algorithm to go ahead and put this piece in, and then when you're done, you would rotate this piece. You would rotate this piece back so that they're both going to be solved in the end. So on a 6x6, you guys can see that there's multiple edges now. There's multiple different pieces now. And we kind of have the same thing as before in a way. We have a piece that would go here and a piece that needs to go here. So what we would do first is that we would first go ahead and solve for the middle 2. That's these ones right here. So you want to solve for that one first. And then once you solve for those middle 2, you want to go into the outer ones, which is number 2. 1. And that would be the same way that you would do it. So here we are on a 7x7. You guys can see that we have pieces that want to go here. This one wants to go here. This one wants to switch to that one, and this one wants to go here, right? So the first thing you want to solve for is you want to solve for this middle bar right here. The original 5x5 bar that we had here, you want to solve it right here. Once you solve that, then you solve for the outer parts. You guys can see, so you guys can see the very most basic thing that you want to do is if you have a puzzle that's higher level, like an 8x8, first you want to solve for the middle 4x4, which is the 2 bars. Once you solve for that, you solve for the outer ones. And if there's even more, then you solve for those ones as well. So you go from 2, if it's an even layer puzzle, you start at the 2 centers. So if it's an even layer puzzle, you start at the 2 center edges, and then you would go out to the other ones and match them up. If it's a 5x5, there's already an edge for you, and you just build bars from there. You build a bar at a time, and that's for odd layer puzzles. But that was kind of just the theory kind of like of how this works. Let me go ahead and show you guys how to do that on an actual puzzle. Okay guys, so here we have a 4x4. You guys can see that we are done with all of the edges, and all we have left are the last 4 edges. So you guys can see that sometimes you're going to get a case where one of them is already solved, and in that situation we're kind of really good because we want 3 edges, because if we have 3 edges we are able to actually create a full cycle and be able to pair all of them. So if we have this one right here, so if I'm in a situation like this where you guys can see this green and orange wants to be paired up with this green and orange, if I slide and pair them together, you guys can see that we have this one right here. If I put this down and let everything go back to normal, then all the edges are solved. And usually when you have an odd number, if you have 3 edges left, it's a good sign, because that means that you can go ahead and pair one of them, replace it with one that's not solved, and then the last 2 will automatically be solved. But if you have 4, then you might come across some parity, and this is what it would look like. So let's say I'm in the situation right here. I have this, so let's say I'm in the situation right here. I have this green and this, I have this red and blue, and I have this other red and blue. I want to pair them together like that. And then I want to go ahead and let's see, this would be a green and yellow, which is here. If I pair them together, I have 2 edges out of 4 solved, which means I'm left with parity, which is these 2 right here. You see this one wants to go here and this one wants to go here. So in this situation like that, you want to go ahead, in a situation like that, you want to go ahead and use a parity algorithm, which goes like this. Follow along. I'll put it at the screen at the bottom right here. And you can see that we have solved for this edge. All edges are solved, and we can continue moving on with solving 3x3 stage on the 4x4. So that's how you do it on a 4x4. It's basically just, you know, straightforward solving edges for edges, and there's no extra work that needs to be done. But now let's go ahead and see how it works on a 5x5. All right, so here we are with our 5x5. You guys can see, okay, so here's our 5x5. You guys can see I have actually some edges solved. And so the first thing I usually like to do when I'm solving for a 5x5 is I like to go ahead and make it so I have at least 2 pairs on every single edge. So I have one right here, so this one I'm not going to deal with. But all 3 of these actually don't have one. But actually this one does. So I have 2 of them that do. These 2 have at least two completed parts of the bar done. So I'm going to focus on these 2 that don't. So I'm going to see this one can be paired, so I'm going to take this one out and put it here, so I can pair this one right here and replace it with this, and then slide it back, and you guys can see all that's left now is I need to pair one of the green, one of the red and blues together, move it out of the way, and then move it back. And so now I come across the same situation I did before on the 4x4. I'm in the exact same situation I was with the 4x4. I have 4 edges left. And so basically what I want to do here is I want to make it so there's just 3 edges left. So I just want to solve for 1 bar. And how do I do that? How can I control how many bars I can solve for? Well, you can see here that this red and green will go here. So the piece right here is green and orange. You can avoid solving for anything by looking at the back here. So this is green and orange, and this one is orange and blue. So let's look for a piece that if I put it in, it won't solve for anything. I can put this one in, but it will solve for that. And sometimes these things are unavoidable, but sometimes you can actually find a piece that you don't need to put in and you can make it so it's 3. But now that we have 2 left, you guys can see that this one wants to go here and this one wants to go here. And in that situation, what I would do is I would use the parity algorithm, which I've shown in the 4x4, but I'll do it again. This is how you do it. Align it up so that these 2 want to switch together, just like this, and do it. And just like that, you will solve for the last 4 edges on a 5x5. Now let's go on to how to do it on a 6x6. Okay, so here we are with our 6x6, and this is where things are going to get more complicated, because now we have more pieces to create in our bar. And so now what I want to go ahead is reiterate. I want to go back to what I said in my theory, in the theory part of this video, where you first want to create the first 2 middle colors and then go out to the outer ones. That's exactly what we're going to do here. Let's forget about these outer ones and just pretend we have a 4x4. Just look at the 2 center colors and just make sure that they're solved before going further. So here I have a green and red and a blue and red. And over here, and you guys can see this one right here can actually go with this one right here. So if I put it in, I have successfully created a 2x2 bar, and I can just replace it with a random bar on top, and we can keep moving forward. I actually paired another one. So what does that mean? It means that now we have once again a parity. it means that once again we have a parity, and that's perfectly fine. That's going to happen. So now what you're going to do is do the same thing on the 4x4 when we only have 2 edges left. We want to put them like this, and you want to make sure that these, when you slide them, they actually create the solved piece. You don't want it like this. You never want it like this where by sliding it doesn't solve the problem, because essentially what the parity algorithm does is just it slices it without you damaging any other piece. So you want to make sure that when you slide it, they actually create the bar that you want. So let's go ahead and do the parity algorithm for the middle edges, which is grabbing all of the edges towards the middle. Cool. And so you can see now that this bar is solved, this middle bar is solved, this middle bar is solved, and this middle bar is solved. So now we can focus on the 2 outer parts now and deal with those. Same process as before. We're going to pair them together. Just like with the 5x5, I like to have it so that I have one left here. But sometimes, you know, if you want to, you can go ahead and make it so you can successfully build that bar and then you can go on to other ones later. So it's just a matter of slicing now. And you want to also keep in mind that when I'm slicing, I also make sure that there's at least a broken block that I can use to replace one of the solved pairs. So here we come across a situation where this one needs to go down here, and this one needs to go up here, and that one needs to go here. So how do I solve for this? This is actually one of those times where you can use the edge swapping algorithm. And so what that's going to do is that when you slide this way, it's going to flip this, so when you go back, it solves everything. That's one of the cases you can have when you're doing this. So let's go ahead and solve for this case. Edge flipping algorithm for this part. So you want to slide, and then you're going to do R, I think it's R, F, no. Yeah, that was it. And that's how you do it to solve for that. Now let's look at another case that could happen if you're working on this. You can also come across a case like this in which you can see that there's a piece right here and a piece, and it's just going to switch these two, but we want to switch the outer two. So you want to go ahead and grab this part and do the edge flipping algorithm. Just like that, and then you can solve the puzzle. Let's go ahead and check out how to do it on a 7x7 now. Okay, so here we have our 7x7. As you guys can see, we have some layers solved, and so in this situation, what I want you to focus on is that little 5x5 bar. You guys can see there's that mini 5x5 bar. In the 5x5, we have these 3 bars that we want to solve, and so we have these 3 middle pieces that we want to solve for. So you want to solve for those first. So let's go ahead and see. I can actually solve for this one first, but before I do that, I gotta make sure that there's a piece I can use to replace it after I pair them. So I paired it. Now I can use this one. Since it's broken and it hasn't been solved yet, I can use it, and this one can no longer be used because it's already solved. So you guys can see, if I look around here, I have this red and green, and here's another one. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, use this to replace it. Now I have this piece that I can put here, using this one because this one's already solved. I don't want to use that, I want to use this one. And then I'm left with parity in the middle. So okay, so here we come across more parity again. A lot of parity is going to be coming up when you're doing the last 4 edges. It just cannot be avoided. Maybe it can be avoided. I'm just a bad teacher, but from my experience, it cannot be avoided. So now what you're going to do is you're going to, since it's on the middle slices, you're going to grab the most middle slice, which is all 3 of these layers, and you're going to do the algorithm. And that solves for it. And now we're going to focus on the outer parts now. Let's see. You guys can see here's a broken piece that I can use. Let's see. I'm gonna flip this so I can put that in. Here's a broken piece I can use. Let's see, I have this piece that I can flip with this piece. Excellent. And now I can use this, put this in here, and I actually got a perfect case. I actually had 3 pieces that I wanted to get rid of. So now let's go ahead and see what happens if maybe it's a little bit more jumbled up with just the last 2 edges. So let's just say for some strange reason we actually come across a situation like this where it's really jumbled up and we don't know how to even start doing something like this. Okay, so you guys can see the middle is not solved. That little 3 bar is not solved. So we want to solve for that first, and then we can go on to the outer one. So let's do the algorithm to solve for that. So here we are. And now we come across this weird case right here. Here we have a case in which we have 2 pieces like this that need to be swapped. And in that situation, what I would recommend that you guys do is you actually want to break a piece. Unfortunately, you want to go ahead and slice it there and use this piece, take it out and put it in. Okay, once you do that, I want you to go to this part right here that has it in the wrong place, make it go up, put the one that needs to go there next to it. Then you want to slice back, replace it with one of the broken pieces again. Okay, and once you do that, you're going to come across parity once again, right? Here's parity. Now we just need to do parity on this, and then we solve it. So let's do it. And there it is. That's how you solve for parity. That's how you solve for the last 4 centers on a 7x7. But anyway, guys, that's about it for my mini tutorial here, my mini breakdown on how to solve last 4 edges on any big cube. Hopefully this tutorial helped you guys out. If it didn't, please let me know in the comments. I'll maybe make a follow-up video with your questions, like I did with the 7x7 video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications. I'll see you on the next video. It's a Keeping Bro out. Peace out, guys.